Hey guys, it's Maymay, and last week I got to teach crafts in VBS. And spending time with kids and crafting really relaxes you and lets you kind of step outside your box. And that's what I want to do. This card that I want to make is simple and it takes some childlike imagination. And that's what we're going to do. This is a little church and it's a shaped card. So it opens and closes like this. And I think it's super fun. I'm going to make it again today for you on camera, but I'm going to do a couple little changes that I think will be cute. So let's get started. The first change I'm going to make is I'm going to be using my dial trimmer. This is the We Are trimmer that has all the different little rotary blades on it. And I want to use the decal edge. I think that'll be cute. And I've not tried this, so we're going to try it together. So to get started on this guy, I'm going to use my trimmer a little sideways for you to see it in the screen. So it's a little bit awkward for me, but I think it'll be fine. To get started, I want to cut a couple of strips. First, because I want the decal edge on both sides of my card, I'm going to go ahead and just put my cardstock into the trimmer here and cut a strip. Now, one thing I have discovered, if you bought one of these, there's a couple things. Number one, it is a rotary blade. You need to press down to cut it. Number two, you need to go slow. If you get too quick with your slice, it doesn't cut as well or it can skip. And another thing is you need to make sure it's all sitting flat on your work surface. If you have the top sitting flat and the bottom sitting off, you're going to get a miss in the middle. So that gets our first edge done. Now let's come over here and I'm going to cut this guy to 2 inches. So I'm going to cut another strip. Again, press and go slow. If you see that you don't go all the way through, as long as nothing moves, you can go one more time. But I want to show you this. This didn't quite get through, but I've also noticed if I do this, it kind of comes off like perforated paper. And we don't mind because we're making that kind of little, you know, messy looking edge. So it works just fine to do it this way too. All right, so I got that guy. Now I need 2 more pieces. I want to do a couple pieces that are 4 inches by 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 is the width of my card, but I need a couple of pieces that are 4 inches. And because of this deckled edge, I'm kind of going to do what I've learned in sewing. When you have a pinked edge and we have a deckled edge, you want to measure to the furthest point out of your pink or your decal, okay? So I'm just kind of lining that up close to my 4 1/4 mark. I'm going to run this guy down and slice. Now I went back up that time because I noticed that I skipped when I came out, but there we go. I got one piece. That's 4 1/4 wide. Now I want it to be 4, but again, I want that deckled edge. And honestly, I think in a minute we're going to cut this off, but I would rather go ahead and have it all the way around the square than not have it where I need it. So that's that top section. So that just kind of makes sure everything I cut here is going to be deckled. Now what I want to do is cut a 4-inch square. So again, just kind of lining up the furthest peak of my little deckled edge. Press this guy down. There's that one. So that's a 4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. Get that to 4. I also find that this guy cuts better if you push forward. If you push it up into its cradle, it cuts better. I'm just learning it. I just got mine too. So, all right, so we got 2 pieces, 4 1/4 by 4. And I'm not going to use this piece right now. We might decide to use it. We may not. Now, the shape of this little church, I think, can also be a schoolhouse pretty easy. So since I'm doing this one this way, just think about that. If you need a little schoolhouse card, just change the colors and you'll be able to get one. All right, let's put this into our scoreboard. Now, notice I did not decal these edges. You don't have to do every single edge, but I did want the ones that we're going to be showing, okay? Now for this guy, this is going to be the top section of our card. I want you to see this. We're fixing to do this scoring right here. So what we're going to do is first, we're going to score this in half at 5 1/2. That's just our standard A2 card because that's what we started with was an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of cardstock. Then what I want to do is I want to make a couple marks. From my score mark, I want to mark back an inch and out an inch from the score mark. Okay, and I'm going to do that down here too. This is just giving me a spot to know where I'm going to be scoring my diagonal. So I gave myself my little marks 1 inch away from either side of my score mark. And now I'm going to lay this on the black line of my scoreboard. This is why I put those lines in so I can see when I'm kind of floating in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a good score. And then I'm going to turn it this way and give it a score. All right, now we just need to fold all of these lines. So we'll start with 1 and I'll go ahead and crease it. Now, these may not line up, like you may be thinking I'm going to get this perfect little L shape, and you might, but you may not, just depending on how your scores are done. Don't stress about that too much. I found we're going to have to kind of train this paper anyway in a little bit. So I'm just going to crease that down. And what I mean by that is once we push these little pieces in to make our peak of our roof, we can always line it up, put it into our scoreboard and use that for our little line on the edge. And then we're going to train it. So what I want you to see is, do you see all that that's kind of not pressed down? When I put it in here, get it where I want it, I can then train it that is where I want it to lay. And now when I bring it up, see how neat and clean that looks? And that's what we're looking for. All right, so this becomes that peak. Now let me show you what we're going to do with the other parts. For these guys, I want to make a mark here in the middle, and I'm using deckled, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. It probably won't be perfect. This feels like it needs to be like 2 1/16. Same here. Make a little mark to find your center, okay? Then I want you to go down the side. So here's my center. I want to come down the side 2 inches. Now you can play with this. If you don't want your roof peak quite so steep, mine is going to be about like that on the side. Matter of fact, let's take this one up a little bit. Let's go up 1.5 inches and see how different it is. I really can't remember exactly what I did this one. Let's close this up and see. Yeah, that's going to be a little taller, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to go 1.5 inches down, and I think on the other one I went a full 2 inches. So whatever you do to this one, you want to make sure you do to that one. And because my edges are so different, I'm just going to mark them both and cut them separately. You know, typically I would stack these up and cut them at the same time, but it might be difficult to line them up exactly. So we're just going to do it this way. All right, and now we will cut those. And I'm going to cut them with that decal trimmer again. It's not the decal, it's the dial trimmer, but I keep calling it a decal trimmer. And here's the thing, okay? I can start to see, you're not going to be able to see this, but I am starting to see a blade mark where my blade is starting to wear into my dial trimmer. That lets me know where to lay my little lines. But basically, you're just going to float this right in the middle of the cut bar in there, okay? And I'm going to pull this past and push it up, and I'm going to go slow. So I get that one, and then I'm just going to turn this around and kind of float it again. Again, from the point to my little line there at the bottom. The thing I love about this is the kids just taught me this week that you don't need to stress about anything, and I thought I didn't stress, but they really just had a good time creating, and that's what I'm doing today. I mean, there may be easier ways to do this. You may even have like a die. Of course, you could use your electronic cutting machine to make a little shape church, but isn't it fun sometimes just to get your toys out and play and just kind of create without any stress? That's kind of what I'm trying to do today. So I'm going to put this in like this. Do that other side. Now, I didn't get that roof right at all. Look what I did. I don't know what I did, actually. One of them is correct, and this one is not. I'm going to trim that one a little bit more. It's really not that big of a deal, but I may have lined it up incorrectly on this corner. Let's go this way. Okay, so I played around with my little roof lines and got them about where I want them. And now this is where you have to make a little bit of a decision, okay? You can glue this guy on top right here and get that little roof line that you can decorate and play up. Super cute for the schoolhouse. Or you can put this underneath here like so, and it gives you more of that almost cathedral type church. Do you see the difference? It's hard to see with the white on white, but it gives you kind of the side view of the church with the middle kind of vestibule area, which I think is really cool. You can do it either way. I think I'm going to do it this way, and I'm planning to play a little bit, and I like having that little roof peak there. So to do this, all we're going to do is apply glue. So I'm just coming in here, and I'm going to lay this little guy down. I'm just going to eyeball that my peaks are about the same there at the top. Remember, we're playing like kids today. We're not stressing about this like we normally would with all the perfection. We want this to look a little, I don't know, rustic, a little beaten up even, like it's the weather's, been wearing on the church over the years. And we'll flip this over and do the other side the same way. And this time I can just kind of line up the church, the little front piece on the bottom and kind of get them similar. Again, I don't really mind if they're off a little bit. It's not going to bother me because the church itself is going to look a little rustic. Now, what white card project is it if I don't add some cookie dough, right? So we have to do that. So I'm going to go around these edges and add cookie dough, just working mostly to the edge so I can get that darker kind of worn edge there, and it'll really show off our little decals that we did all that work on, right? So I'm going to go all the way around. And I'll show you this too. Because this is a pretty mild ink, I'm going to come down here and then work my way up and even show off that edge where it overlaps and I glued it all the way down. It'll still kind of show that off without blending it in, without coloring it too much. So there's the front all inked. Now I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on the back. I just thought about this. You're going to want to do this too. Wipe your work surface before you flip it over. I completely forgot. I think we're fine. I just got started. If you don't, your card will pick up all that ink on the other side and it might pick it up where you don't want it to. Now you can pick your best side and let that be the front. I'm going to pick this up and clean my surface again. So that's going to be the front of mine. Now let me show you how I created these little pieces. This is where we get to really act like a kid. On a live show the other night, we created this piece just playing around with some of the picket fence watercolor splatters, the paper splatters. And I was like, I'm not going to let this go to waste. I love how this looks. So I'm going to cut out my door, my windows, and things from this. I like this more splattery section in the middle. You can see I already did some down here. So I'm going to kind of get up in here and get myself a piece to work with. Just something like this, so I can get into all those splatters. And what I did for my church is first I just made a door and I cut out like a rectangle. These are not going to match. They're not going to be the same because I'm not going to measure them. If you want to measure them, you can, or make them all at one time. See how that's going to be a little different? It's perfectly fine. Now you can leave your door rectangle if you want it to be like that. This one's not cut very well. If I was going to leave it that way, I'll do a little edit right there and right there. You could do this with your decal trimmer, which might be really cute, but I think I'm going to do it this way just for the change. And I'm going to leave that like this time. We're going to do a little bit different. I'm going to do rectangles on this one where I did points on the others. All right, so then here, I'm going to make a window. And you'll see that I am purposely trying to make them wonky and trying to make them not the same size. I don't want them exact. Now, I don't want one like twice the size of the other, but I don't want them exact. So that's pretty good. I'm good with that. Now I want to make something up here. I may do a roof pitch on this one that I didn't do on the other one. Let's just see what we can do here. Isn't that cute? It's kind of starting to look like a little house there. And I can cut these pieces off and use them for something else. I think I'm going to put a little pitch up there and see what it looks like too. Notice that I'm not gluing those down yet. I want to play and see what I end up liking the best. That's kind of cute. Let's do a little window for right here, like a little bell tower. I don't know how big it needs to be. That's pretty good. I like how that looks. Slide that in there a little bit. We'll get it right when we glue it down. We'll lay it out straighter. And then I've got other little things I can do here and there. I think I'll do it this way for now. And it also gives me another opportunity for my little cross and my steeple and stuff. Now, obviously I made this the size of an A2 card, so you're not going to be able to add anything off the top, and we're going to have these cut right to the edges. I'm okay with that. I think we still get the look of what we're going for. All right, let's glue these on. Now, here's the thing. My favorite part of doing all of these projects is seeing your creations that you do based on the videos that I put out. I absolutely love seeing your creations. And there are a couple of places you can do that. You can share them with me at our customer gallery, which is at MaymayMadeIt.com. You just look for the word gallery on the website and you can add your picture. Now, some people say, I can't add the picture because I didn't use products that I bought from you. It doesn't necessarily matter. That's just so that whenever someone opens a product, it'll be like, hey, look, this is a project you can make with this. So all you do is pick, like, if you use art glitter glue, use art glitter glue. Even if you didn't buy it from me, just choose that as the product that you used and it will be perfectly fine. You'll see what I'm talking about when you go to add your photo. Now, the other place you can add a photo is on our Facebook page and our Facebook group, not our page. Let me get that right. Tamitha's already telling me, no, not the page. On our Facebook group, which is called Maymay Made It, and so did I. And if you haven't joined that group, you really should consider. There's a lot of inspiration over there, a lot. The crafters on that page really do a good job of sharing what they're creating and let me see it too. That's the easiest way for me to see it. I love to see them over there. All right, so let's trim our little roofs down. Now I will put all my little windows and doors on. if you are considering posting your project to our customer gallery, I would love to see this done as a school, a new home card. Wouldn't that be cute? There's so many ways you'll be able to use this little setup. And even if you edit it, maybe you figure out a different way to do it or do it sideways. I don't know. I love to see what you guys come up with. All right, so there's the beginnings. We need a little cross. I feel like without the cross, it doesn't like a church. So here's what I think we're going to do. I have these pieces left over from when we were making our little base pieces. I think I'm just going to cut a couple of strips of this cardstock, just like this, and let this become our little cross. And you'll see the difference when I show you the other card. I did it in a navy cross, and I want to do this in white. So this one may be a little bit, that's pretty good. But I know this is too tall. So let's see how tall we can make it. And I'm purposely not cutting the edges straight because I want that to be a little bit messy. You see how that turned out? So I'm going to glue that down. I think I'll use my quick stick to help me with this one. Also, I did not cookie dough this cross. I feel like I need it to pop a little bit. So rather than inking it and making it kind of go back into the background, I want it to really pop off of that navy. Cute. I can always go back and touch it up. Now for what might be my favorite part of this project, these fine line pens. I'm going to pull the black one out from this Colorista set. There's a bunch of colors and you could mix them up, and we may even use some more colors in a second. But I love the nib of this pen for this process, and watch what we're going to do. So this is where you just got to be brave, be bold. Just don't worry about it. You're going to have fun, okay? Around every shape, what I'm going to do is scratch some pen line in. Now, I learned this from Brenda Berry, okay? I have been in enough of her classes to see her do this technique, and I want to show you what really makes it unique, okay? So she does this little scratch, just like this, all the way around, okay? Then periodically in here, she does these little lightning bolts where she'll just come down here and just kind of do this, and look how it changes. I know y'all have seen this done, but like, I never really knew. I'm not an artist, so I never really knew how to do that sketchy thing. But that's what she does. She just comes in periodically and does this little lightning bolt. I'll do it here and maybe it'll be bigger so you can see. So scratchy, 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 scratchy. You really can't be too scratchy. And every line doesn't have to touch. See how I left that gap? But then like right here, you just kind of do that number. Just periodically add that little thing, which is so crazy to me how cute that looks. So I'm going to come down here and do it again. It makes you feel like you kind of know what you're doing, although I'm just scratching ink onto a page. And the more wiggly, the better. So there we go. We got those all outlined. Let's do the top. I think I'll do it down the middle of this cross to give it a little bit of cohesion. And then the roof line. If you are someone like me and you work with clean lines, this is a struggle sometimes. You struggle being messy like this, right? And this next part, you really might struggle, okay? So what I did on my original card, I'll bring it over. I want you to see this little wreath. Now, you can certainly go into your stamp stash. You can find all kinds of cute little things you can put here, but I want to show you what I did. I took a pencil, and this is how I started it. I did a little sketchy circle. Just sketch it out, just to give myself kind of a guideline. Doesn't have to be great. I just wanted to give myself a place to go. See that? All right, and you might not can see it, but you'll see it here. Then I went back with my pen, and I sketched it out for real this time because I know where I want it to go. Again, I don't care if it's not perfect. I'm playing, you guys, and it is fun. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sketchy leaves. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be the same shape. Some of them can be rounder. Some of them don't have to be round at all. Just play and do these little leaves all the way around. And you can do like half to the to one side and half to the other, almost like a laurel. I think it's called like a laurel branch or an olive leaf branch, all the way around. And if this makes you nervous, use one of your stamps. But another trick that Brenda likes to show when she teaches is say this was a wreath that you stamped and it looks too perfect compared to your sketchiness, just go back to your stamp and add some of those little lightning bolts here and there to the lines, and it would make it look a little more sketchy. Isn't that cute like that? I mean, that is so easy. And I'm just gonna tell you something, it's fun. I feel like an artist, and I know I'm far from an artist. Look, let's bring out the splatter box. Let's bring it out. So I've got my fan brush. I've got some gold and some black. I'm going to shake this up, get that pigment all mixed in nicely. And then what I do is I put a squirt of this onto my glass mat. Move this and see if you'll be able to see me do that. I put this on the glass mat because I find that it moves really well that way. If I put it on like paper or cardstock, it kind of dries in and I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to pick this up on my fan brush pretty heavily, and then I'm going to tap it onto the card, and it just adds a little something. Let's get some more. I don't care if it's blobby. I don't care if it's light splatter. Just want splatter. And I'm going to come back and do black as well. I really don't want as much black. Ooh, I say that as I get a big blob at the top. That's all right. We can handle it. All right, so there it is. I'm going to let this guy dry. If you don't have a glass mat, as I'm cleaning mine, I don't know if you can even see me doing this, but if you don't have a glass mat, it is an investment that is worth it for your work surface. I can do so much on this mat. I can heat emboss. I can use all of my inks, all of these splatter sprays, just everything. And so you just might consider picking one up for yourself. We'll put the link below to glassboardstudios.com. I do have an affiliate there, and I think we have a coupon code. If we do, we'll put that in the link in the description for you. Put my fan brush away, I like to shape it back to the shape of the fan. I'm doing this with my cloth today. You can do it with your fingers, but I like to let it dry in its shape. That just seems like I get a better result when I go back to it next time. Now, on the inside of my card, you'll see that I've got some not level areas because of where this crosses over. Because of that, I'm going to cut a little piece to lay in here on the top and the bottom, and I'll show you how I did that. Ideally, you'd let this dry longer than I am because I'm not really letting it dry very long. But I'm going to place this down here on the bottom corner of my cardstock. And I'm just going to trace around this with a pencil. Put my finger there. I don't see anything there. So I'm just going to trace around to get me the basic shape. I'm going to cut that out. But when I cut it out, I'm going to cut it out about 1/8 of an inch inside of that line, maybe even a little bit more. It's not, I'm way outside of where I need to be putting this in. So I'm just going to give myself this little bit of wiggle room here and come in from that line. And because I cut this off this edge, I'm going to need to do the same right here and cut a little bit of that off. I will want 2 of these, but first I just want to do a little dry run with this one and see how it fits. So see how by cutting in just a little bit, it fits really well. All right, I'm going to trace this one and cut one more, and I'll cut it on the exact line. So the cool thing about this is we can actually do our stamping on here and then glue it into the card. So if we mess it up, all that work we did on our card is not lost. And I actually need a couple of cards. And so I'm going to use our set that's called Say It Gratefully. And in here, it's a lot of different sentiments for people that maybe you go to church with, or a brother or a sister in Christ. And I'm going to use sister and a couple of these sentiments here. So let me get those set up and we'll stamp. So using some VersaFine Onyx Black, get that all inked up. I'm going to use this little, it's actually 2 sentiments that I stuck side by side. I've got ink on my block. It's making me nervous. I'm afraid I'm going to get it where I don't want it, which is possible. So I'm just going to be gentle not to rock this. There we go. Good deal, good deal. And now let's do the word sister at the top. So now we can glue these into our card. It should be dry enough now for us to play with it a little bit. So I'm going to open it out, and I'm going to glue this one at the top just like that, just to kind of seal it all up. You could do this with a pattern paper. Wouldn't that be pretty if you did this part with like floral or plaid, or, you know me, even buffalo check maybe, or gingham. How about gingham? I'm going to place this in up here and just kind of follow the edges. And that just kind of seals all of our working up. And then this guy is going at the bottom. This will give us a place to sign, and it also cleans up our messiness a little bit on the inside. And there we go. That's the card I did today. This is the card I did first, and you can see the difference with those roof lines, can't you? It's a pretty big difference. Now you can see the difference in the two I made. This one was previous, this one was today. One thing you may notice here is I put a little bit of white pen on this one. I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it showed enough with all the splatter inside of it. But look at the difference in the way the windows are shaped. You could do so much. You could just keep playing. But I really, really, really would love to see them done by you guys as churches, as schoolhouses, as even barns. Wouldn't it be a cute barn? I cannot wait to see what you do. Remember, guys, let yourself play. I'm probably going to name this video, When Did I Stop Letting Myself Play in the Craft Room? But that's what you should do. You have really cool supplies and really cool things to work with. But what happens when we just play and we get something so super cute just like this? I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Remember, Christmas in July is coming. So hit your subscribe button and go ahead and set your notifications so you don't miss a single video. Until next time, guys, bye now.